In this video, we are going over how to kill fear and anxiety, especially during these times with what's going on in the world, to be able to move through fear, to be able to transmute that into something differently so that you can function normally, not get drawn into other people's agendas and so forth, is an incredibly valuable thing to learn, not only when things are operating normally in the world, but especially during times like this. So I'm going to be giving you some amazing strategies and mindsets that are going to help you do that. That's coming up next. Before we get started, my name is Dave and this is HeartSpace, and on this channel we're creating videos every single day to help you live life more in your way. So if that sounds good to you, make sure you hit that subscribe button and bell icon so you don't miss any of the videos that we release. Now today I got another lesson for you on the board. Sorry about the glare down here. I can't really do anything about it. Don't worry, I'll make sure you know what's going on down there when we get to it. And again, I want to go over how to kill fear. And we're going to talk about a few different things here. We're going to talk about how to do it in the moment. So when you're feeling fear, having a tool that in the moment right now, as fear starts to rise and you start to panic and you get a little paranoid or whatever it is, and you feel like you're about to spiral, I'm going to give you some very, very simple things you can do in order to snap right out of it within a few seconds. And I'm also going to be teaching you how to make it so you don't get in that state that often at all. You know, fear is supposed to be a state we enter when there is actually something in our general vicinity to be fearful of, where fear would actually operate to serve us, to protect us from something. For example, if you lived in the bush, if you lived in the forest, and there was a jaguar right around the corner, and you just feel like that fear that's telling you that there is a threat near you. That is really the only kind of situation where fear actually plays a role that serves us. But to feel fearful in general, to feel panic in general, actually hurts us. It doesn't serve us. It doesn't help our situation. It does not help us to be able to positively move through the world or think clearly when we need to. And so it is very important to be able to learn this skill. Now, before we even get started, I want you to write this in the comments, and I want to do just a very quick 10-second exercise with you. So first, write in the comments, everything is okay. And I really want you to connect to everything is okay. And you might be saying everything's not okay. All this is happening, blah, blah, blah. That is the fear. That is the fear gripping you. And this is what's going to help you get out of that. And I promise you, after you do this, just, believe me or only believe me after you've done this, after you've actually done the exercise, and let me know if you feel better. But write in the comments, everything is okay. And I want you just to take a moment and breathe in very, very deeply from your belly, a nice big belly breath, and I'll do it with you. So you're just going to think everything is okay as you breathe. So you're going to breathe in, everything is okay, and then you're going to breathe out, everything is okay. And you can even say it on the exhalation if you want. So we'll breathe in. Everything is okay. And I want you to do that 4 or 5 times, and then tell me how you feel. You can pause this video, just breathe while you think in your mind's eye or think in the screen of your mind, everything is okay, and really connect to that statement. Don't just say it, connect energetically to the statement of everything is okay. Right now, in this moment, in this very moment, you are watching a video, you are breathing. It doesn't matter what's going on out in the world right now or around you externally. In this moment, right here, right now, everything is okay. There is nothing imperfect about this moment, and everything is okay. And just breathe that in and breathe that out a few times. And then in the comments, you can let me know how you feel. Do you feel a little more relaxed? Do you feel like a weight maybe has been lifted off your shoulders? Do you feel just a little more prepared to take on the things that come your way now? Now, this is actually the first technique you can use when you find yourself in a fear state. Very, very simple. You take 10 seconds to a minute of just doing this. If on the first time you do it, the first inhalation and exhalation, you're not feeling more calm, you just keep going and you just really, really just focus on that statement, everything is okay. As you breathe deeply, you slow down the energy, which is very important because if you've noticed, fear is a very dense energy. Have you noticed when you feel fear or stress or similar emotion that you actually feel physically heavy? Like you feel tired and you feel like you just need to lay down, your legs get heavy, maybe your chest, your stomach gets heavy. It feels like there's an emotional anchor in you somewhere. When you start to breathe deeply and you slowly play this in your mind, you're loosening up that energy and you're going to feel lighter, you're going to feel better. You are literally going to be dissipating, removing, breaking up that energy. I know that sounds a little crazy to some, but give it a shot. Next time you find yourself in fear, and I want you to do this right now as well, just to get an idea of what this feels like. Just for about a minute at most. I mean, if you can go longer if you want, you can meditate on this for a while, and you'll feel better and better the longer you go. But all it takes is a few in and outs, very deliberately, while thinking this in your mind's eye, or you can say it, everything is okay, and just say it very slowly when you're able to as you're breathing. And I guarantee you're going to feel better. I guarantee by the end of this exercise, you're not going to be in a fear state, or if you are, it's going to be at a much lesser degree than when you started. And again, I think if you stick with this and you really, to the best of your ability, do it. If you do it half-assed, guys, it's not going to really work like anything else in life. But if you really fully commit to I'm going to do this to the best of my ability. I'm going to say it. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to do it to the best that I can. I promise you, once you're done, you're going to feel better. So that's the first thing. Now, one thing we need to understand before moving forward, why it's so important to not be in fear. Now, I explained earlier that fear is essentially a defense mechanism that we have for a reason. Like, there's nothing really that's going on within you internally, certain emotions, certain processes of the body that isn't without a function. But you have to understand, when we first had fear, I mean, we've always had this component of fight or flight, being put into a fear state. Don't mind my sink gurgling over there. We had this because at one point in time, we were much more wild. We lived in environments where it was very likely we could be killed on a daily basis. We were more in the food chain, maybe never that extreme, but we were more likely to run into something like a bear or a tiger or a lion or something that could physically harm or kill us. And so we needed this fight and flight response. We needed fear. We needed to feel fear in those moments so we don't go do something stupid and walk right up to the tiger and go, hey, kitty cat, and try and pet it, and then it eats us, right? You needed that emotional response of fear in that moment in order to help you survive. And one of the main mechanisms of a lot that goes on within us is survival. Now, in this day and age, that isn't as necessary because you don't really need protection from a tiger in your everyday life. However, the fear, fight, or flight mechanism is still there, and so we just put it onto things that we don't need it for. For example, like getting into a fight. Maybe your spouse yells at you. Maybe you're fearful of just kind of, like we get scared of really, really silly things that put us into fear. Fear of maybe, becoming insulted, or of looking silly, or some social aspect, right? These are things that will put us into fear, but don't require the fear response. We're going to be fine. We're going to survive. But fear takes a toll on your body, because when you're in fear, you activate the fight and flight response. Your amygdala is going crazy, which is basically the fear response center in the brain, the one that activates when you're in a fight and flight response. And what it ends up doing is it allocates energy in your body and certain functions in your body to one purpose, which is survival, which means other processes in your body are given less attention. And one of the most important processes in your body is that of the immune system. It requires energy for your immune system to take care of you, to heal you, and do all these different things. But when you're in fight and flight, that is given less priority because the main priority is survival. Because if you're in an actual situation where you need to survive and you could die, it doesn't matter if your immune system is working or not, it goes down with it. So the priority is given to your fight and flight response. So when you're in fear, it actually begins to break down the immune system. So fear destroys the immune system. Now, there's actually something important to this, so one sec, let me write this down. Okay, so fear destroys the immune system. Now, fear in small doses does not destroy the immune system because the immune system won't be offline for that long or operating at, very small capacity. You could think of it, or like only 1% power of your body is being utilized for your immune system when you're in fear. But if you're in a prolonged state of fear or panic or these very dense emotions, now your immune system is going without energy, without the allocated energy to function properly for extended periods of time. And this makes you more susceptible to things that your immune system would have had no problem dealing with. This makes recovery much more difficult because, again, a lot of that's going to come down to your immune system. It makes resistance to disease and viruses much more unlikely because it's not operating. It's not that your immune system is weak necessarily. It's that it's not functioning because you're in fear. It's not functioning at full capacity, and if it was, it would probably have no issue dealing with whatever foreign invader is coming into your body, of which there are many. Guys, there's bacteria, more bacteria, I believe, bacteria cells in your body than healthy cells, because they actually serve a function. But your immune system is going to, for a lot of that, help regulate all that. And so when you're in fear, you make yourself sick because you start breaking down your immune system and other functions of your body. It's not just your immune system. Remember, when you're in fight and flight, your body is going to allocate energy to everything that's going to help you survive. You're going to get more adrenaline. You're going to get certain chemicals pumping through your body that are going to allow you to react faster, that are going to allow you to run faster. So blood's going to be pumping faster. Your heart rate goes up. Why? Because it needs to pump blood faster to your body to be able to use it, to be able to move faster, to be able to spring up, to be able to be more alert. But there are going to be certain functions that are not receiving what they need to operate. And so they're going to become damaged if you're in a prolonged fear state. And a lot of people, in general, not just now on the planet, are in perpetual fear. And they develop certain ailments, pains in their body, even, deadly diseases, even cancer. Has been proven that too much stress, which stress comes from being in fear, by the way, guys, they go fairly hand in hand. People develop things like cancer when they're in that state too long. And now with what's going on right now, it is imperative that we're not in a fear state because of everything that's happening. You make yourself more susceptible to what's going around when you're in fear. You make it more likely not only of contracting it, but actually receiving lasting damage from it or dying from it. Because again, your immune system's unable to fight it. So that's the first thing, guys. Fear destroys the immune system. Understand that. I gave you why that happens, the fight and flight. Now, again, it is very simple to knock yourself out of fear. And one thing we went over was this little practice that I like, connecting to everything is okay, just understanding in this moment, right now. Doesn't matter what you're thinking about in the future of what might happen. It hasn't happened. Stop fantasizing about what might happen towards the negative. It doesn't matter what you think about in the past, like you're connected to something that put you in fear in the past, which puts you in fear now, by the way. But if you just connect to this moment and understand that everything is okay right now and breathe deeply while doing that, you will notice your state change. You will notice yourself getting out of fear, which again, we want to do unless we're in literally a fear or a fight and flight situation where we actually need that function to be activated, which again, in our everyday life for most of us isn't the case. Now, another practice you can do, and again, this is stupidly simple, but it just works, is called box breathing. And I'll explain to you what that is. And this is something you can do just as a general practice that's very good for focus, very good for bringing you into the moment. It's good for many different things, but it is incredible at changing you out of a fear state. And so here's what box breathing is. It's very simple. It's going to be like this. You're going to breathe in for about 4 to 5 seconds. And as you get better, as your lung capacity is improved and you can strengthen this and you practice a little bit, you can go longer. When I was doing this very, very consistently, I was at like 10 seconds. You can even go beyond that, but you can start at 4 to 5 seconds. So all you do is you're gonna breathe in for 4 seconds, and then you're going to hold it for 4 seconds. Then you're going to breathe out for 4 seconds, and then hold it for 4 seconds. And you're going to repeat this pattern, box breathing. So 4, 4, 4, and 4. And it could be 5, 5, 5, and 5. It could be 7. It could be whatever it is. But don't bite off more than you can chew. If you're trying to do 7 and you're losing your breath and you're doing it too early, just go back down to 5. There's no competition here. You're just trying to get present with this exercise so that you can take yourself out of the fear response in this case. And so I'll do it with you really quickly. You can follow along. It's very simple. And what you can do very easily with this practice is just set a timer for 5 minutes, and you're going to do this until that 5 minutes is up. And this can even be 2, 3 minutes. This can be 10 minutes, but it doesn't take long, guys. It can take 5 minutes of this. And that's what I was practicing when I first started this, just 5 minutes. And you will 100% change your state if you do this for 5 minutes. You're 5 minutes away from getting out of fear. So if you're panicking, if you need a calm mind in this moment and you don't have one, if you find yourself just spiraling, getting depressed, just thinking of all the negative, stop and do this practice. So here we go. We're going to do it together. So we're going to go 5 seconds, or we'll go 4 seconds. 4 seconds, because I think everyone should be able to do 4. 4 seconds of breathing in. 4 seconds of holding that breath, 4 seconds of exhalation, and then 4 seconds of holding that exhalation, so not breathing in for another 4. So I'm just going to do this twice. And then again, maybe we could have a guided box breathing session. You can let me know in the comments if you want that, but it is very simple. You don't really need it. And everyone goes at their own pace. But here, I'm just going to give you an example of doing this twice. So it's, and I don't have a timer, but I'm going to count in my head. So we go. Okay, so very simple. Now, obviously, counting in your head is going to be a little harder. I can't get my timer right now, so you'll most likely get out of here. You'll most likely need to use a timer for this, and then just keep your eye on the timer again every 4 seconds. And this will take a little bit of practice to get used to the rhythm, but it doesn't take long. I think after one session of 5 minutes, you'll start to get into the rhythm of this. But I can even tell you now, I feel more relaxed. And not that I was in a fear state, but I was pretty energized sharing this information. But for a moment there, I just felt, oh, yes. Just doing that twice, connecting to the moment. So this is, again, an exercise you can do just to do it to improve other areas, get into the moment, to relax. If you are in any other kind of state and you just want to relax, I can't recommend something more stupidly simple yet so effective than box breathing. And there are people who have used this breath in survival situations. I can't remember exactly who this was, but someone commented on someone else who was teaching this, who said, you know, he was in the military and he was in a situation where he was in the water for an operation, and like there was a threat around or something, and he couldn't move and he was panicking, and he did the box breathing and it calmed him right down, and he was able to go through with the mission. And I think I'm remembering that correctly, but this is just an incredible way of just calming down. And again, when you're in a fear state, one thing you'll actually, next time you're in a fear state, if you want to, I mean, I recommend just doing this to get yourself out of it, but notice your breathing when you're in a fear state. You'll most likely feel like you're holding your breath or you're having shallow breaths. Again, your heart's going to be beating faster. You know, certain things are going to be happening, adrenaline, which is going to lead to that response. But you'll notice you're breathing probably quickly, or you're holding your breath a lot. And so this is definitely a way to break up that energy and get yourself into a more calm place. Now, again, these are two things to do in the moment. Because honestly, guys, remember, all we really have is now. That's all we ever really have. So whenever this comes up is the time to do these practices and bring yourself back into the moment. These are tools you can now use next time you find yourself in fear. And again, it's not a situation where fear is the correct response, which for 99.9% of situations it will be. Now, if you think someone's burglaring your house, yeah, maybe it's good to have that fear response, to give in to the fight and flight, and then to know what you need to do, right? To get into that kind of reactionary mode, because you might need to react. You might need your instincts to be heightened and your awareness to be, your sensory awareness to be heightened. But other than that, you know, especially even what's going on now, fear's not going to help you, especially when you consider what it can do, you know? So break down your immune system. All right, so let's move on to the next part. We'll get to that later. But this is more for long term, to give you a more longer term view on how to not put yourself in fear in the first place. Now, if you're someone who identifies, or not identifies, but is aware or notices that you get into fear quite often, this is a practice. So you still will probably move into fear after watching this video, but the difference now is whenever you do, as soon as you can become aware, do one of these practices. And what that is going to do is now you're going to start developing the habit of every time you get put into fear of automatically not allowing it to fester, not allowing it to spread, not allowing yourself to spiral, but automatically putting yourself back into the state you want to be in. And also, you can do these techniques, guys, even if you're not in fear. Maybe you're angry, or maybe you're in an emotion you just don't want to be in, and you want to just kind of reset and calm yourself and then select what you want to be in. These work amazingly well for that as well. Okay? But now let's talk about some things that are going to help you just not get into that fear state. So one thing to understand is what I have right down here. which is you can only focus on one thing. Now, the expanded version of that is you can only focus on one thing at a time. I just ran out of space, okay? But you can only focus on one thing at a time. And this is incredibly important to understand. Now, you cannot simultaneously focus on two different emotions at once. You can go back and forth. You're like, I'm doing it right now. No, you're going one, then there, and there. But you can really only focus on one thing at a time. And this is important to understand because if you're focusing on the opposite of fear, if you're focusing, for example, on opportunity, possibility, health, wealth, peace, joy, happiness, gratitude, you cannot, by law, be thinking of fear or be in fear at the same time, unless you think something or allow yourself to be gripped by fear. And so what's great about these techniques in the moment is once you do them and you're out of fear and you're focusing on something else, the only thing that's going to take you out of that something else is if you start focusing on fear again. And so understanding that you only can focus on one thing at a time is incredibly helpful and has been for me because I understand now if I put myself into a happy state, if I think about the things I love, if I think about things that make me happy, and it's good to write these things down, like write down a list of things that make you happy, write down some memories that you can think of in the moment that bring a smile to your face, right? Like when you met someone that you love or just a moment that touched your heart and just was an incredible humane kind of moment or loving moment, an accomplishment, whatever it is. Write these down and remember them in moments when you want to shift your energy. That's been an incredibly helpful technique for me. So you can only focus on one thing at a time. So again, you cannot be in fear when you're also happy, or when you're happy, when you're feeling joy, when you're feeling gratitude. It's why gratitude is such an incredible practice to cultivate, because when you're in gratitude, you cannot at the same time be in being spoiled or be in a mindset of lack or be in fear or be in anger or whatever else it is. You can only be in one at a time. And kind of adopting this mentality is going to help you to understand the importance of focusing on the things that you want in your life. Focusing, like if I gave you a choice, would you rather be in fear or would you rather be in a state of joy? I'm sure most of you, I would hope, would choose the state of joy. And simply by putting yourself in that emotion, thinking of things that make you joyful. Like maybe you have a pet that you freaking love. Like you have a dog that is just, the best dog in the world. It's so loving to you and whatever it is. And sometimes it's something I do because back home, my parents, my dad, has a dog. He has two dogs and they are the most lovable, awesome dogs ever. And when I think of them, I just feel happy. Like I feel so much connection. I feel certain instances, or I think of certain instances with my parents, very loving instances, for example, and I feel that. I think of things that I've done with my girlfriend, certain moments we've had, and I start feeling that love and that happiness. And so you can connect to these moments and start feeling those things as well, instead of feeling the fear. You have to notice also when you're feeling fear, it's always because you're connecting to some thought or some idea that puts you in fear, right? There's always something that happens that puts you in it. You watch the news or something and it puts you in fear because then you're visualizing certain things or you're connecting to things in your past that made you feel fear then or whatever else. So you can do that for other emotions. You can think of things that made you happy. Memories that make you happy. You can think of things that made you feel so much gratitude and have so much faith in humanity. You could remember that time your friend did that amazing thing for you and it just made you feel so loved and connected. You have the choice to think of the things that put you in fear or the things that put you in a different emotion that you choose. Happiness, joy, gratitude, love, peace, for example. So that is a mentality to take on board. Moving forward over time. Developing this as a more long-term thinking habit is going to serve you in so many different ways, not just in getting out of fear, but just in many different ways. Now, one other thing I want to leave you with is this idea. And it's, again, so simple, but if you can tattoo this on the inside of your eyelids, as some people say, it is going to serve you just massively in many different ways. And so, blank now. And this is one of the most important things you can do, and it is simply this, and we've been talking about it here. These two exercises help you get there, but it is simply feel good now. Feel good now. You see, guys, there's always the potential to feel any sort of way in any given moment, regardless of the external circumstances or whatever else is going on. You get to dictate that. And by feeling good now, by choosing to feel good now, in whatever way, again, it could be a memory of an achievement, it could be a memory where you connect to something that just makes you see the, again, like in my case, I see maybe the face of my dogs or my parents or friends I have or my girlfriend or whoever, family that I have. Or I think of moments, experiences I've had that just made me feel so connected to the moment and made me smile. That helps me feel good now. And the more you can feel good now, the more things in your life are going to change. The less time you're going to spend in fear. The less time you're going to spend in those denser, lower consciousness level emotions that break you down. I've gone over the consciousness scale, the Hawking's consciousness level of consciousness scale or consciousness map. Again, this is proven. This is a proven study and research he did for over, I don't even know how long, his whole life's work. It passes, what is it, the burden of proof or whatever it is. They did so many experiments, so many studies to prove this was true, and they calibrated consciousness at different levels. And what they found is that anything below the consciousness level of 200 was catabolic, and anything above the consciousness level of 200 and up was anabolic. And catabolic simply means that it is life-destroying. Fear on the level of consciousness, on the scale, the Hawking scale, is at the level of 100, which is why it destroys the immune system, which is why it causes you to break down. Fear is at 100 on that consciousness scale. Things like anger is at 150, pride is 175, shame and guilt are some of the worst. They're at 20 and 30, I believe, respectively. And the more you spend time in these emotions, the more you break down. The more your body is going to be in fight and flight. The more you're going to see external circumstances not work out for you. But when you're above 200, and guess what the precursor to get into the higher ones is? It's courage. Courage is the level of 200, or it's 250, like 200 to 250, something like that. And you start getting into things like acceptance, peace, love, joy, gratitude, the higher up you go. And you get all the way to enlightenment, which is between 700 and 1,000. And so that would be anabolic, and anabolic simply means life-supporting. And so once you get to those levels, when you're, for example, feeling good now, feeling love now, feeling peace now, feeling happiness, joy, acceptance now, feeling courage now, thinking of those moments when you were so courageous, you had fear show up, and you had the choice to be courageous or allow the fear to grip you, you chose the courage, boom, you suddenly went from catabolic to anabolic. And the more you can stay in that, the more you can feel good now, connect to those emotions, connect to those feelings. One, the less you'll be in fear, which again is catabolic, breaks you down. But not only that, the more you'll be in those anabolic states of love, health even, happiness. There's many different labels you can give these emotions, acceptance, even reason, things of that nature. And so the true secret, like besides, again, doing the things in the moment, is just to feel good now. And again, these two things I gave you, the whole point of them is to help you get out of this feeling that's not making you feel so good right now. It's making you feel terrible. It's breaking down your immune system. It's causing physical damage in your body, and in many other ways too. But these methods help you get out of that and then connect to something that's going to help you feel good now. Because remember, guys, all we have now is this present moment. The more you can consistently feel good now in each moment, moving forward, the better things will get. The more you will not be in this state. Camera cut off there, but the more you will completely kill fear. Why? Because you're just not in it. You're operating from a level where fear is just not even in your realm of reality. And when it does come up, you decide to do one of these things, so it's not there for long, and then you decide to feel good now. You decide to focus on one thing, feel good now. And again, the method in which you're going to do that is going to be different for everyone, but I recommend, again, doing one of these if you're in fear, and then having those memories, having those things you can connect to that can help you feel good right in this moment. Whether, again, achievement, something you achieved, maybe something you're very happy with, that you love. For example, I really love nature, and for whatever reason, when I think of nature, I feel really, really good. Sometimes when I'm meditating and my mind's going pretty nuts or getting a little bit negative, I will think of this beach that I love in a place called Shumpong, and I will just imagine myself on the sand, listening to the waves, hearing the birds, feeling the wind, and I feel better within seconds. So again, that's specific for me. Find what works for you, but have those things you can connect to that help you feel good now. And this one little, 3-word line here also will lead to so much more in your life, which maybe we'll get into. Not maybe, we will get into other videos. But guys, that is how to kill fear. I think I've given you enough here so that you're well equipped now, especially in these times where this whole, pandemic is going on and people are panicking. That's very real. People are in fear. And I can really empathize with that. I understand that. I've had many periods in my life where I was in so much fear, and it's not a fun place to be. But understand there are things you can do. There are things within your control. Again, I've given you a few in-the-moment things to do and some other things that you can do over time that are going to just help you not feel fear as much. And actually doing the things in the moment are going to also help with that. But anyway, guys, this should equip you now. Now, the next thing is to make sure you're doing this. I'll even have, I know this is a long video, so let's do a fun thing in the comments if you made it to this point, because not everyone will. Not everyone has the capacity to focus this long on something, even if it's going to really, really help them. But we're going to have a little thing. Just put down below, that'll be good. I am feeling good now. So put that down below. You can just edit your comment if you wrote everything is okay too, so that it includes both of them, or make a new comment. Doesn't matter either way. But put that down there. I am feeling good now if you made it this far. And give yourself a little pat on the back too, because again, you're taking action towards actually being able to help yourself, take responsibility for your life, grow in multiple ways, and really help the collective consciousness too, by not being someone that's gripped by fear, but being someone who is able to access those higher levels of consciousness, those higher levels of emotions that are anabolic, even during a time when no one would blame you for being in a more catabolic state. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I love you. My goal with this is to help you, is to give you some of the stuff that's worked for me and that I'm learning, that you can apply into your own life. And I really hope that you will utilize it and reap the benefits of it. Anyway, once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.